let's briefly talk about the role of ethics in decision making. And what's ironic about this is I'm going to try to give you a brief overview of ethics, and I'm a lawyer. That's ironic. No, seriously, believe it or not, attorneys have to abide by what we call the professional rules of responsibility, and certainly I would make the argument that most attorneys are actually quite ethical. But let's look at some of this. Barbara Tuchman, we suffer from a loss of moral sense, of knowing the difference between right and wrong and being governed by it. It's an interesting statement. You know, do we as human beings have a loss of moral sense? I mean, do you think that most people out there are ethical? No? I certainly think that I'm ethical. I certainly strive every day to do what is right. You know, I question every day, what is right, what is wrong. But Barbara makes an interesting statement here. We suffer from a loss of moral sense, of knowing the difference between right and wrong and being governed by it. What about Oliver Wendell Holmes? The law is the witness and external deposit of our moral life. Its history is the history of the moral development of the race. So he's saying that the law has evolved as a result of our moral life. Alright? Both interesting concepts. Do you agree with them? I don't know. Do I agree with them? I don't know. But it's something to think about. Now in 2009, this was an interesting statistic from the book, 49% of employees surveyed reported observing ethical misconduct. 49%. That's half, y'all. What do you think about that? Is it worth it that half of us are being unethical? Now let's talk about ethics in society. Diversity, few shared values. Is this true? Yes, we are a diverse group. And do we have shared values? I would make the argument that yes, we are diverse and we do have different points of view. But those different points of view is what makes us stronger, arguably. Right? Those different shared values, what is right over here might be wrong over here and vice versa. Decline in public education and family structure. Now, are we seeing this? Yes, we are. Alright? Our education system is not what it was 100 years ago, and our family structure certainly isn't what it is 100 years ago, and that's my fault, by the way. Attorneys, we've made the divorce process easy. Alright? But has that changed how we raise our children? Yes. What about economic interdependence? The world's getting smaller. So who do we go to? Again, what is right, what is wrong? What is right in Europe might be wrong over here. And what about the news media? The news is on all the time. I mean, you can turn on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, C-SPAN. What do we see? Controversy. All right? Is our society ethical? Now, ethics in government. The government can certainly step in, and they can try to regulate us and say what is right and say what is wrong. Is that going to have an effect on the market? Sure. For those of y'all that are taking economics classes, think about it. Think about the concept of laissez-faire. Leave me alone. Leave the market alone. When the government stops in and starts messing with the market, what happens? It does all sorts of crazy things. Okay? Is it right? Business wants to limit further government regulation. I would agree with this one. Some of you may not. Some of you may want government to regulate things. That's fine. That's why we have different points of view. What about self-regulation? Are we as individuals good enough to regulate ourselves? Does He-Man know right from wrong? Okay. Does Whiplash know right from wrong? Can they regulate themselves, or do we need Peter Beckman to do it? Okay. Ethics and morality. Now, morality are values that guide our behavior, right and wrong. Sharing moral values promotes social cooperation and control. Business must be sensitive to different moral values. And this is all good stuff. Folks, I may have a point of view. You may have a point of view. As long as we respect those different point of views, we can all learn from one another. Let me tell you about my study group in law school. My study group in law school consisted of myself, Southern white male, a disabled coal miner from Kentucky. I would call him a mountain Democrat. A black female Democrat from Brooklyn, New York. And let me tell you, she was a cool young lady. And then a black gentleman from Nigeria. Folks, we don't get any more diverse than that. Okay? But through the concept of sharing each other's point of views and looking at different aspects of where we've come from and sharing our social values, we were able to learn the law that much better. Okay? So diversity is a good thing. All right? Sharing our different points of view is a good thing. Okay? Businesses need to be sensitive to that. Why? Because it's a good thing. You may think that, well, having different groups of people who might not get along is bad. No. If people can understand that they need to work together and embrace those differences, your business structure will be better. Now, law. Rules of conduct instituted by the state. Yes, the state legislature and the federal legislature, they make the laws. Okay? They, do what that they write them down, and they do what they need to be done. Now, law will set minimum standards. All right, you have to do this minimum. Now, to be moral, I would make the argument you have to go above and beyond what is the law. Okay. Now, when we talk about this, what we want is we want to get to the good. Okay, and that is the end result of ethical examination, is what philosophers call the good. Okay, so whenever you look at this stuff, what we want to get to is the good. We want to do what is right. We want He-Man to be the most powerful man in the universe. Okay? That's good. We want him to do good. Whiplash is evil. Okay? He works for Skeletor. Do we want him to be good? Yes, we want him to be good, but is he ever going to be good? No. Go read the comic books and go watch the cartoon. He's never going to be good. Now, two systems of ethics. We have formalism and consequentialism. All right? Now, formalism affirms absolute morality. It involves duty and moral obligation. Folks, we have a duty to act as reasonable, prudent persons. All right? We have a moral obligation to do what is right. Now, categorical imperative, and that's from Kant. You have a duty to act in a way you believe everyone should act. All right? Should I go out in the street and act like a fool? No. Should I act like a reasonable person? When I walk down the street, should I, be, hitting people? No. Should anyone be doing that? No. Should I go to the grocery store and steal a candy bar? No. So we have a duty to act in such a way that we believe everyone should act. Now, social contract concerns itself with how to construct a just society given the many inequalities of wealth, knowledge, and social status. All right? Now, is it all right to be wealthy? Sure. Is it all right to have knowledge? Sure. Is it all right to have, high social status? Yes. All right? But there's going to be different levels of that. All right? I'm an attorney. My neighbor's a cop. Can we be friends? Sure we can. All right? There's nothing wrong with that. Now, veil of ignorance means to think ethically, you must lose the assumption that what you personally need or want is necessarily morally correct. You can't say, well, I think this, okay? You got to get past that. It's that next step. You got to say, what would a reasonable person think is morally correct? You got to think objectively. All right? Consequentialism. This looks more at the consequences of the actions. All right? Utilitarianism judges actions by usefulness, by whether they serve to increase the common good. So, if doing something increases the common good, it's ethical under utilitarianism. The ends justify the means. Only after you consider all reasonable courses of action can you know whether a particular one has the greatest utility. It's going to make the most people happy. Alright? So you look at everything. What is going to be the end result of my actions? If the end result of my actions is a good thing, then my action is a good thing. And you can probably make arguments. Well, what about the death penalty? Well, well, killing is evil, But if we make society safer, then utilitarianism would say, hey, killing the person's okay. Wow. That blows your mind, doesn't it? Protestant ethic. New emphasis of importance of the individual. Honesty and keeping promises are intrinsically good. Folks, again, I would make the argument that telling the truth, even when it's difficult, is a good thing. The truth will set you free. And that's the ethic that a lot of people look at. Now, if you look at both of these, utilitarianism, consequentialism, and then formalism, believe it or not, you can get the same end result by going through the process. Alright? You may think that they're a little bit different. You may think that killing is bad, which, yes, it probably is, but the end result is good. But is it reasonable to kill someone who has killed someone else? Wow. You may disagree with me, but go through the steps in your head, and go through your steps in your head for anything. And this will help you determine whether or not you think something is ethical. But again, it's not necessarily what you think, it's what a reasonable person thinks. There's a good example of this if you look at figure 2.1. And I've already said that formalism and consequentialists can arrive at the same conclusion for an ethical course of action.